What is up, YouTube? Today I'm going to show you basically Serum from start to finish. This is a Serum tutorial guide for beginners, even advanced people, because I'm going to go into some deep techniques that I use and some routing techniques I use inside Serum. But I really just wanted to make a two-part series and just kind of go through Serum start to finish and get into, you know, sound designing in Serum. It's fun to sound design in here, and you can get a lot of things quickly. But yeah, I'm gonna go into all the settings for you all. Right now, in this video, we're gonna just do just the oscillator section, and part two we'll go into the effects section. So I have just a basic saw. I made a quick little loop. Just remember we are sound designing, so this doesn't have to be a crazy song, it's just enough and some pitch bending to demonstrate the sound as I'm working on the sound. And if this happens to spark an idea, then it happens to spark an idea, and then we'll go from sound designing to, writing a song. So we have this basic saw sound. But I think I want to pitch bend that up just to. Yeah, alright, cool. So that kind of like loops a little better for me to listen through it and sound design. So it's just a basic saw right now. And I quickly put the LFO on the level and FM from B, which we're going to go into right now. So I always mess with FM from B first. A lot of people use it, but I mean, it gets you some cool tones when used correctly. So I did LFO on there just a little bit, like 4, I think it was at, or something like that. And now we have the sound like this. So that was cool. And originally it was at 15 milliseconds right here in the envelope. So that gives us a nice tail on it, and I like what it's doing to it, and really just filling it out and not, like the notes just kind of end. Now we have a little tail and it gets a little more bounce to the sound, and I really like that. So don't be afraid to mess with the release. Just because you have a MIDI note shorter doesn't mean you can't add some release and have it longer than the MIDI note. And it gives it a cool bounce. Like I said, without it, it was pretty dry. Just fills out the loop and really adds to the bounce. That's also why I put the LFO like this, so it kind of has a little lag on the LFO and gives it more swing to the wobble. So after I do the oscillators and get a good basic sound going, I go to the sub because, every dubstep, bass, wobble, whatever, it's going to have some sub underneath. Now, I usually duplicate this channel later on in the process. Like when I'm in the actual song doing the mix down, I'll duplicate this channel, make one just the sub and one just the bass sound. But for creating the patch, I put it all together so I could use it quickly in other songs, and then when I get to the mix down stage, split it so I could get more detailed on the sub and bass. But that's the sub right here, the oscillator. It's really good. Just pitched it down 3 octaves and put some LFO on the level to get some, bounce out of it, and you can watch down here. And I also like to just do a little EQ on it, just pull off the highs, so if you listen. Get off the high frequencies, and then we boost the lows a little bit. And that kind of really balanced out the song without, or the sound. I keep saying song, but sound without too much EQing, just the basics right there to, you know, kind of give it a little more low end, a little less high end, and get it really rounded out. Now I go into the noise. A lot of the noises I use are the hums, the cans, the cymbal. I do the breath sometimes. In harmonics, I use a lot, and the ARP, so the circuit pink and white, I use a lot too, and the organic, or not organic, organ noise. They're all cool, but on this one, I just use the stock. And this one, you put the LFO on it, and this just gives it some more energy, so it goes. Just enough to give it some energy on the LFO movement, but not too much where that's mainly what you hear is the noise. You just kind of want to blend that in. I put it on mono at this point, and instead of off, the LFO is on trigger. So those are two settings you want to make sure are there. This is so every time, it plays from the start. Whereas if I had it off, it's just going to go like this. And wherever the LFO is where the sound's going to go, which is good sometimes. But on this one, I wanted it, when the notes hit, I wanted this little, in a way, it's kind of like a side chain because I'm ducking the sound and then releasing it, but it's an LFO to give it the movement. And last thing I do on the front side is the filter. So if it was all the way up, and I didn't like that, so I dialed it back, and that's when it just kind of barely started shaping the sound a little bit because I didn't want the full LFO there. I just wanted it to go in a little bit, so. And that was cool. You see, it kind of just tamed those really high frequencies a little bit without giving it that generic LFO movement where it cuts out all the frequencies. So a little bit of drive and fat, dial down the mix and the cutoff a little bit, and that gives you that nice round sound. Now, other things you could do in here, if you didn't want to use an LFO and you just wanted to use an envelope, you can make the shape with the envelope so it just kind of goes through one time, or you could just simply switch the envelope setting right here, turn this LFO into envelope so it just goes and then stop. The macros I really don't use yet until the last stage of the processing. I'm going into the effects in the part 2 video, and then maybe we'll start adding some macros and mods to the sound. But you don't want to overdo them. Keep it simple right now with pitch bend and just the front side of the oscillator. As you see, the sound is coming out nicely. And yeah, I'll see you guys in part 2. Don't forget to subscribe. Click that thumbs up. It helps us out a lot if you learned the basics of Serum right now. And the next video, we'll go into a little more advanced because we're going to the effects. And then we'll start, developing a more complex sound. Give us a subscribe. I'll see you guys in part 2. If you want free presets and all that good stuff, click the link down in the description. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.